Hey everyone, meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here, back with you to talk about severe weather for Friday. Storm system coming in from the west. I've been updating you gradually throughout the week and did a couple of updates on the blog, on the Facebook Live at lunch today. So I just now had a chance to look at the latest data. I know it's a little bit late, it's 9:30, but the data doesn't come in until between about 9:15. It finally starts coming in. So I don't really have a good look at everything until about 9:30. So I want to make sure that I had the latest before I came on here to kind of give you what you can expect to see if there are any changes. Otherwise, it'd be a disservice to you to use old stuff, and we don't like old news or old data around here, so it's all new. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I've got over 1,000 of you joining, so you guys sound like you're hungry for information, so let's get right to it. You know what I like to do, and that's dive into the maps. So that is what we're going to hit first. So the first thing I want to show you is a couple of the computer model outputs. So this is the amount of rain totals expected. This is why flash flooding will be a concern for this event, as you've got some extremely high amounts progged by the models here over northeast Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas. These numbers up here are over 6 inches of rain. There's another model that has it up over 8 inches of rain. Here in the metro, about 1 to 3 seems to be the average that I've seen in most models. So here's another model. Again, it's got about 1 to 3 inches here in the metro. But if you look up here in northeast Oklahoma, it has over 8 inches of rain. Also over 8 inches of rain here in parts of northwest Arkansas. So that's a big problem out here. The Weather Service office in Tulsa is worried about the flash flooding threat because of the terrain out there. Now, the Weather Service takes these models and kind of averages it all out. And right now, for the latest, which I think came out this morning, again, they had a 1 to 3 range here in central Oklahoma, but they had the hardest hit areas above 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 out here in northeast and eastern Oklahoma. So this will likely change. Again, they'll update it as the new model data comes in. The models could come in a little drier. I doubt they'll come in any wetter. I don't think that's possible. So they'll likely come in drier, but then they'll be able to fine-tune more where more of the flooding is more likely. And in the past, over this week, there's been models that have estimated as much as 8 inches of rain here in the metro at times. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with tomorrow morning's data. So keep that in mind that flash flooding is going to be a big concern with this particular system. And that'll pretty much help to eradicate the drought. So what we're going to do is put this radar into motion for you. This is the computer model animation. It goes through some showers tonight, no big deal. Tomorrow it's mostly dry all day long. And then as we head on into the evening hours, so this is 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Now we're getting into 9 o'clock. We have some storms bubbling up here in southeast Oklahoma. Now we've got a couple of them bubbling up here in southwest Oklahoma, and then a lot of rain in the panhandle of Texas. And as we head on into this is the midnight hour, you can see a lot of severe weather breaking out here in west central Oklahoma. This is moving east toward the metro, and you got another cluster out here in eastern Oklahoma. So as we put this into motion further, you can see how these storms roll on through. This is around, I think, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning here. And these are some heavy rainmakers. They're also likely going to have some hail with them and pockets of damaging wind. Now, here's the other thing. We have to look at whether or not these have the potential to produce tornadoes. So what we're going to do is, let me get your attention here. This is Oklahoma County in this area here. So I'll put a marker on it to kind of give you an idea of what I'm going to show you. So you need instability. You need all the instability and moisture coming in. Let me tell you what. Let me switch to a different radar because that's not going to do it for me. All right, so we'll use this one. Now, this is the CAPE values. In other words, the amount of instability in the atmosphere. The more brighter the colors into the red, the more unstable it is. Now, as we go into Friday night, look how most of it's down on the Red River. As we head into midnight on Friday night, look how it's just barely in Oklahoma County and Canadian counties, right along I-40. As we go through time, it gets more unstable in southern Oklahoma, but that line doesn't progress any farther to the east. Now again, this is tonight's model data. Tomorrow morning could come in and it could shift this a little bit more to the north. If it does, the severe weather threat goes up here in the Oklahoma City metro area and also in Tulsa. Now if it doesn't, it stays exactly where it is, we miss out on a lot of the severe punch to this. We're getting a lot of rain out of it. And I still think maybe some elevated hail, but as far as the tornado threat goes, it is confined across southern Oklahoma in this situation. Now, we can take a look at the significant tornado parameter and show you how that changes as well. As we head into Friday, let's see, this is 9 o'clock. See the bright purple area in southwest Oklahoma changes into pink by the time we head to midnight. So what that says is all the best model parameters for tornadoes is right here in southwest Oklahoma. So that's the most likely area to see them from about, like I said, once storms get going, which could be as late as 8 o'clock, up through the midnight hour here in this area. Now as we head on into time, this is around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you can see how the brighter colors are still pretty close to Oklahoma City, and I mean, this is right around the Norman area, Newcastle. Now this is right along the warm front, so there's a warm front that kind of drapes along this feature, and so that's where these parameters line up. So that's why it's pretty close. It's going to be a very close call here in the metro, and this line can waver. It can move a little bit more to the south, or it can move a little bit more to the north. So the deal is you don't want to get too set on the model data tonight as to where that boundary is. The mesoscale boundary, a lot of times you won't know exactly where it lies up until not only the day of the event, but maybe just a few hours into the event to see how things play out. And now one of the reasons why that front won't make it too far to the north is because you get a lot of rain out there. So again, here's the showers and storms that develop into the late night period. And you can see how most of them are right along I-40 and points northward through about 3 o'clock in the morning. So that reinforces the cold pool, which makes all this air cold, like makes it like a cold front that's going down to the south, and it's battling that warm air that wants to come north. So that's why that boundary doesn't want to move, and kind of why it's anchored right along on this area. So anywhere along this area and points south is where you get your tornado threat, because that is where you have the warm and moist unstable atmosphere. Now, as we go through time, there is a heavy line of storms that does move through Saturday morning, and then that continues on into Saturday late morning, and then by Saturday mid-afternoon, look what happens. We get a little bit of a dry spell. Now, the model may not be exact in the time, but when I say Saturday looks like a washout, and I've also said at the same time, you're going to have several hours of dry weather somewhere in there. Well, right now, the model says lunchtime is a good time to have some dry weather around here. Now, it's got more storms that develop here in the eastern parts of Oklahoma as we head into Saturday afternoon, and pretty close to metro. Some spotty showers here, nothing too heavy. Now, this may not exactly play out what this model is saying, but it gives you an idea that if you have any outdoor activities tomorrow, you might be able to squeeze in some stuff during some dry weather. But also keep in mind there's going to be probably some flooding to deal with too, and some of those roads may be closed depending on where you're going. Okay, so that was a quick look at that data. Let me go back to see if this one updated anymore. So some severe storms moving through. Same kind of deal there. Okay, now let me switch over here. And the main, let's see, what did I want to show you? I think I wanted to show you the shear. Okay, there's always so much stuff to look at, and I got to kind of pick my battle here to keep this short. Okay, so in this particular case, we're looking at the shear, which is a turning with height. These are these arrows down here mean. So you have a surface wind coming out of the east. You have mid-level winds coming out of the southwest. So that causes the air to spin, okay? And that's what you need for tornado development. Now, this is going to be this way through midnight. Now, as I go into the, let's see, it's going to be about 4 o'clock in the morning. What happens is now these vectors become more aligned, more like this, more linear. That helps to limit the tornado threat. We'll go on one more time. This will take us into, was it Saturday morning? So now they're really, really linear here in south central Oklahoma. They still have a little turning, let's see, over here behind my head in southeast Oklahoma, but not a whole lot. So in other words, the tornado threat is strongest, what I'm telling you, through about 1 o'clock in the morning in the area that we highlighted earlier in southern and southwestern Oklahoma. Now, as far as the metro goes in Oklahoma City, like I said, there's going to be some storms that will rotate, which means they'll probably produce some hail. Let me see if I can go any farther than this. I don't like that look. Don't like that look either. Okay. The other issue is that from model run to model run, it keeps wavering on the parameters to produce tornadoes. In other words, it gets excited on one run, and the next run it backs off. Another run comes out, it gets excited again, another run it backs off. So by tomorrow morning, when those runs come out, we'll have a much better look. And that's why I kind of caution you, nothing beyond 48 hours when you're talking about tornadoes. I mean, here we are 24 hours out, and the picture is still extremely muddled. And that's a problem when you're trying to pinpoint exactly where these are going to be and how big the threat's going to be. I can tell you that all the juice, all the moisture for these events, let's go to the midnight hour. here is this line of purple is basically 70 dew points right in here. 70 dew points, that's plenty. So that's why we have a risk for some overnight tornadoes in this particular area. Now here across central Oklahoma, we've got 60 dew points, which is plenty for severe weather. And we're probably going to be north of the warm front boundary, which means it'll be elevated in nature. Elevated storms typically are a hail maker. Sometimes you can get some wind out of them. It's very hard to get a tornado. So as long as that warm front we talked about stays south, which as we saw in the data, at the latest data, at most it's moving as far north as, say, the Norman area, and then points southward from there would be the threat area. So that is the way the model data looks right now. Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to show you. Let me go through time here. Okay, so Saturday afternoon, a pretty nasty squall line across eastern Oklahoma. Squall lines are typically wind and hail. Very low tornado threat with those. More scattered showers here in central Oklahoma. They're also very heavy rain makers, by the way. And let me see what the rainfall total is for this particular situation here. So this particular model, 1 to 3 inches here in Oklahoma City through Saturday evening. It's got a pocket out, heavier stuff out to the west. And then here in northeast Oklahoma, it's hitting pretty hard from basically around Okmulgee up northeast in the south end of Tulsa, Jinx, Broken Arrow, and then back up here into Nowata and Veneta, and then back into southwestern Missouri. And keep in mind, this area of the heaviest rain is going to shift around. But it gives you an idea that you can see a consistency from when I showed you the models at the beginning to now. They're still kind of keeping that same zone as where you're going to get most of the flooding rainfall. So even southern Oklahoma's going to get some good rain too. And this is pretty much going to end whatever drought we have out there left. Now, long term, I don't see much in the way of storm systems that'll be coming in. It's going to be pretty quiet up through, should be about the middle of May, unless something changes, and that's very rare to see. And that would put our additional severe storm for the rest of the season in a very smaller window. Last couple of weeks of May, first couple of weeks of June, that's about it. We wrap up and move on. So we'll see if that pans out. But we've gotten off pretty easy as far as tornadoes go in the state here thus far in this spring. I do believe we'll see some tomorrow, late evening, tomorrow night. And I think they'll be confined across the southwestern and south central part of Oklahoma. And I do plan on streaming if they do show up. We'll have storm chasers out there. Again, it's hard to see in the nighttime hours. You know, everything looks scary at that point in time, but they do their best to try to see and ascertain, you know, what it is they're looking at, if it's a wall cloud rotating or not, or if it's got a funnel, that kind of deal. And sometimes, remember, you can have funnels, but they won't be a tornado unless you can see them actually touch the ground. And at night, that's hard to do. So unless they're kicking up debris, you really won't know. You can see a funnel, and it'll be called a tornado. And we'll just have to take that as what it is. Let me see if there was anything else down here. I think that's it for now. So what I'm going to look for tomorrow. Right now, it's got the area of low pressure, which anchors to this front across the Red River in far southern Oklahoma. What I will be watching for tomorrow morning's data is to see if that low pressure moves a little bit more to the north. If so, that drags that front up to the north a little bit more, and that puts Oklahoma City and even Tulsa in a higher probability of seeing a tornado. Right now, extremely low because that front is south of town. Now, I'm saying Oklahoma City itself, as we saw in the model data earlier, it could creep as far north as Norman, but that was as far north as it had it up along I-40 points to the east. So into tomorrow night. So that's my concern. Again, I like to focus on the tornado threat for you. Otherwise, you know, this time of the year, you're going to get the heavy rain, you're going to get the hail and the wind typically with any of these severe storms that move through. Make sure you have my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. Enable the safety net. Put in your addresses. Make sure your GPS is on. That will alert you if a twisting storm is coming your way. And it'll give you a BTI number. That number is on a scale from 1 to 10. If it's a 7 or greater, hit the deck. If it's a 1, 2, 3, just be aware of it. It just means that it's rotating, but it probably won't have a tornado with it. If it's in the 4, 5, and 6 category, pay attention. Probably a good idea to kind of start thinking about taking shelter at that point. So it's kind of a confidence factor as to whether or not it's going to have a tornado. And then that's really about it as far as the weather is concerned. I'll give you another update sometime tomorrow. I might be able to do a lunch update as well. And as I talked about earlier, if you missed it, the AT's Weather t-shirts, which you guys asked for, are on sale now through about 11 o'clock. So you got about an hour left to purchase one if you'd like. The link is at the top of this video. So that's the back, and this is the front, and it's got all different styles, colors, women's, men's, that kind of deal. So check that out if you'd like. I do appreciate you supporting AT's Weather. Had over 100 of you buy one here in just the last couple of hours, so I appreciate that, and I think that's going to be about it. So I appreciate your time tonight. If you want to stay up and watch the news, you can. I've given you all the data that they're going to give you, and if you want to spend that time more productively doing something else, go for it. And that's going to be about it, and I'll check in with you later, and I appreciate your time. Good night, everyone.